Good evening. The board has now returned from closed session and will begin the regular session of the Keys Union School District Board of Trustees meeting. Item number 4, report out closed session items. We have nothing to report out. 4.2, approval amendment of agenda. We have 10.1 and 10.14 need to be updated. Anything else on the agenda?
No other changes to the agenda.
And 10.1 and 10.14 were just last minute items that are already in the agenda, just additional information.
Yep.
If we have nothing else, do we have a motion to approve the updated agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I was waiting for you to vote. Aye. Okay, moving on to flag salute by Mr. Burnell tonight, because Wes isn't here. To the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Wes gets real excited when I call on him. You get excited. Moving on to invitation to address the Board of Trustees. Do we have any? All right. Moving on to announcements. This is the first time we've had announcements in the agenda for a long time. We got item 7.1 is Keys Coffee with the Principals, May 12th, 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. I assume during Zoom.
Yep.
7.2 is KTL Senior Portfolio Panels, May 13th, 2:15 to 3:15. Keys 5th grade visit to SMS is May 20th. SMS 8th grade awards luncheon is May 25th, 2:30 to 3:45. KTL 8th grade promotion is May 26th at 6 p.m. Out on the Keys track. KTL high school graduations May 28th at 6 p.m. at the TCC church. SMS 8th grade graduation, 2 ceremonies. May 27th, the first ceremony will be at 8:30 a.m. The second one will be at 11:15. 7.8, Keys last day of school will be May 28th at 12 p.m. dismissal. Moving on to item 8, recognition presentation, staff reports. We've read the staff reports. Do we have any questions or concerns?
I don't.
All right. Moving on to 8.2, presentations. Mr. Brazil.
Yes, so in presentations tonight, I would like to share with the board that we have 2 individuals here that I would like to recognize for their positions as we move into the 21-22 school year. So we have Ms. Jill McGinnis, who has been with us, is simply changing in positions, and I'm very glad and excited to share that she will be the director as Mr. Wen moves on to retirement. She will be joining us for the coming school year. I know that she's working with Mr. Wen to kind of get a feel for all that it takes. She comes from our elementary portion of it, but she is eager to learn more and more about the high school. And so we're proud and thankful that she is someone who not only understands the program, but has been here from pretty much the early anyway. And we want to welcome her. So if Ms. McGinnis, if you have any words you'd like to share, you certainly are welcome to do so. Thank you and congratulations. And the second individual tonight is Ms. Debbie Ruger, who is going to take over the duties as principal of Spratling Middle School as Mr. Stewart moves on to retirement. Debbie comes to us from Manteca, from a very long career there in that district, in multiple positions as an administrator, and from Modesto City, where she taught for numerous years prior to that. She and I actually went through our master's program at St. Mary's together, and so I welcome her to that position. So, Ms. Ruger, if you have anything you would like to share, you're certainly welcome. Very cool.
Who's the better student?
What's that?
Who was the better student?
I was.
She's nodding her head for the people that can't see on the camera. Welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah.
All right, moving on to consent agenda items. Action prepared for the consent calendar consisted with adopted and approved policies of the district and are deemed routine in nature. They'll be acted upon in one motion without discussion unless members of the board request an item be removed from the consent calendar. In that event, it'll taken up in the order indicated on the main agenda. Very short one today because everything else is long.
And if I could just, I'm sorry, I should have finished in presentation, shared with everyone that what we are hoping to do is honor all of our retirees. We had talked about doing it this month. However, we're looking to possibly do it in June or postponing it a little bit to see if we can actually get some requirements of allowing more family members maybe to come and to be present if they wish to be. So we will be doing that at either the June 8th or the 22nd, depending on when that board meeting is. So I wanted to share that. It's not that we've forgotten, we just trying to make it as hopefully as meaningful as we possibly can.
Perfect. All right, back to consent agenda item. Any questions through 9.1 through 9.5? Okay, there's two of you, so I need a motion and I need a second. So you guys are gonna have to fight over this
I'll
one.
make a motion.
I got it first. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to action items, 10.1, approval of certificate classified confidential management personnel actions. We have all these different votes. Can we vote them all as a one if we choose to? Dana? Or would you like it separate? Okay. So 10.1.1, Spratly Middle School Principal, contract, Debbie Ruger. And since we already announced her, well, it's going to be kind of awkward, but do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion that we,
Okay, we have a first. Please, Mike.
I second it.
All right. All in favor?
aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 10.1.2, Keys to Learning Charter School Director Contract, Jill McGinnis. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that
We have a first from Jimmy, second.
I second it.
All in favor?
aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 10.1.3, Release and Reassignment to Prior Position, Classified Employee. Any questions or concerns? We have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Is that good, Dana? Do we need to approve the 10.1 though? Okay, we also need to approve the 10.1, the updated, sheet.
Certificated and classified.
Okay.
Have you guys had a chance to look at that?
You're talking about, oh, yeah,
The spreadsheet?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve? Standard, we
I'll make that motion.
We have a first, we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is that good, Dana? All right. Moving on to 10.2, approval of 2021, no, 20,
Yep.
21-22 declaration of need for fully qualified educators and annual statement of need 30-day substitute. Mr. Brazil?
So I think this will be much more important given the days that we are facing ahead with the shortage in instructors. But what this allows us to do is via a request through the county office and then to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing allows us to hire individuals who may not fully meet the requirements of holding a full outright credential, but we used to in my day call it the emergency credentials or 30-day substitute credentials. And so this is simply a housekeeping item that every year the board has to acknowledge the fact that we may have to at some point hire individuals that are still in the program and are not completely fully credentialed. And of course, we do everything we can to always hire those who are fully qualified, but given, again, I think this year much more important that they're talking about 25% of teachers who have chosen to retire this year, much more so than in typical years. It's no doubt that we will face a shortage in staffing. So I would ask that the board approve.
This is something we've done several years in the past, and I can say we have some employees that we did this with and are currently with us because we gave them that chance. It's a good benefit.
It's a good thing.
Any other questions or concerns? We have a motion to approve?
I motion that we approve.
All right, Jimmy, please.
I'll
be my
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. You guys are gonna get tired of talking tonight. Moving on, 10.3, approval of Keys to Learning Charter Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant Plan.
Okay, so this is as a result of the governor or the state legislature's funding for reopening plans. This is the plan that if you were open to all grades and in person, you qualified for. And as I had shared with the board, that we met every one of the daily requirements to do so. So both the district and the charter have each written their plans and submitting it, and we are receiving the full funding that is allowed under it.
Perfect. Any questions or concerns?
Nope.
We have a motion to approve?
I motion that we approve.
We have a first, we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you. We're gonna move on to 10.4, approval of Keys Union School District Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant Plan. Same Same idea, different school. We have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We have first, we have a second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 10.5, approval of Hazel Student Medical Services.
Yes, and I've asked Miss Melissa Giambaluca, who is our nurse that we contract services with our county office. She's going to share with the board a little bit about what this service that we're proposing doing. What we are wanting to do is use some of the stimulus money that we are getting that we haven't expended or put in the plan to do so yet, to kind of provide support for students, and this is along the medical lines or the well-being of students. And so I'm going to ask that she share this. The board, I still need to discuss with the charter if it's something that they wish to participate in as well. And I need to get final pricing, so we will be able to bring back to the June board meeting for an official vote, because what we like to do is do it over a 3-year period. We feel like if it's just 1 year, there's no but again, funding will be the issue, so if we can make it happen under the stimulus, then we would like to do it. But for now, I'll let Ms. Giambaluca share with us.
Yeah, thanks for, are you able to hear me? Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Melissa Giambaluca. I am a credentialed school nurse. I work for the County Office of Ed, and I've had the privilege of working in this community since 2017. So, you know, one of the things I spend a lot of time trying to solve or reduce are health-related absenteeism. Can't hear me?
Oh, there you go.
Better?
Just pull it a little closer
Okay.
if it'll, there
So,
you go.
Health-related absenteeism, I'm talking about kids staying home for illness and also being sent home for illness. That's something that I'm always working to see where we can reduce those numbers. Recently, Dr. Brazil and I met with an organization called Hazel, and there's an opportunity to partner with them to hopefully reduce those illness-related absenteeisms through telehealth. So telehealth is not going away. I'm sure anybody in the room in the last year has participated in some kind of telehealth, either over the phone or through a device. Hazel provides equipment and personnel to provide telehealth medical services, not mental health, in the school setting. So what that would look like, and I know you all received some documentation about Hazel, so stop me if you have questions. But what that would look like is the company provides all the tablets for whichever sites are wanting to participate, and they provide the training and also the information to families to give consent. They are FERPA and HIPAA compliant, of course. So if a student were to come into the health office with a concern that possibly needed to be sent home, we can just dial up the provider, that's either an MD, a nurse practitioner, or a PA, and they would see that child there in the health office. 9 out of 10 of the students that they see on the school site end up going back into the classroom, which would be huge for us. At the moment, one of the barriers that we deal with in this community is access to healthcare. So for example, I'll send a child home with something that looks like it may be pink eye, with instructions to follow up with their provider. It may be days before they can get into a provider. So this is something that Hazel could help with.
So how would that work with a younger student? Say a kindergarten or first grader?
They would be there with us.
And so you would do all the talking and,
Yes, and they're all skilled in pediatrics, and they're all skilled and experienced with school health.
does that hold us to any liabilities?
Everything we've checked, they are all compliant, and that is as long as there is parent consent to do that. So if the parent states, for example, they don't want their child to participate, then we can't force them to do so. But if we have consent, absolutely.
So would it be like a yearly application to the parent, or if my child goes in, then you would call me?
Yeah, that's a great question. So both. So it's an opt-in the beginning, and they would support us in that and the language around that. Districts can decide, correct me if I'm wrong, but
No, you're
districts
right.
can decide, do we want to have that yearly, or do we want to have it, until further notice?
Yeah.
After every appointment, and I'm talking about a child who's had consent given, they do follow up with the parent, and they follow up with their PCP. So say, for example, that they see a doctor at Turlock Pediatrics. Once they've seen that child, the provider then follows up with the pediatrician and gives them an after-visit summary and any instructions for follow-up. So we kind of close that loop of kids getting just lost in the wind for care. Did I
When I was
answer your
a kid, I
question?
walked to the nurse's office. I always got sent back to the class because I knew I was faking.
Well, that's a skill that we learn.
So this is going to bridge that gap.
Yes, yes. And then the exciting thing that I actually was unaware of until we met with the company was that these services extend to the home. So anybody who is opted in and has any mobile device can actually access these services from home. So we know that a lot of decisions around, are you going to school today, are made early morning hours. So the parent could then just say, well, let's check in with the doctor, and they could have that discussion before they come to school.
So the service is 24/7?
Mm-hmm.
It is 24/7, yes. hmm
And again, it's extended to, so if there's multiple students, then it's, if they were to call from the home, they're included in that plan.
hmm
So there's after calls? You saying 24/7?
Yes. Yes. I don't know if it will always be that way, but at the moment it is 24/7.
We have some surrounding districts, I believe, that Houston and
We do.
Ceres are.
Houston, Ceres and Denair have all been participating, and I've spoken to colleagues that work in those districts, and they've all been very satisfied, and they've seen a decrease in their illness-related absenteeism.
For how long, and are they redoing?
So the company's only been around for a couple of years.
Okay.
So Ceres, I believe, is going into their second year. They've all done 3-year contracts.
And the cost is what they were able to, is typically $15. What they're saying is that they were able to provide it to Keys for $13. I'm not really, I probably shouldn't have shared that cut, and maybe they're doing it for other districts, but that I want to be honest about what the cost might be for our school. So
Is that per student or per call?
per student per year.
hmm
So it's like a little insurance plan on them.
It's
Yeah.
basically a copay in a sense. It's your copay paid up front, and then you're able to access it online and get service.
So will we pay per ADA or will we pay per the ones that opted in?
We can, that's a very good question. Actually, we have a follow-up meeting on Thursday, and that is one of the things that I have to ask is, as we look at, because he quoted us on 1,100 students.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that, first of all, we have everybody who
Buy-in.
wishes to participate it, and then ask, will that price then revert to 15 if we don't have all 1,100? What will that look like? So we kind of wanted to share and get a feel, is this something that we wanted to do? Both Melissa and I feel that this will be a great service to the community, but we wanted to further investigate it. And again, we scheduled a follow-up to speak with the company.
And if we use COVID money, can we pay it all 3 years up front?
Yes.
Because we can't spend the COVID money with all the regulations? Yeah?
We are hoping that this most certainly would be in consideration of some of the stimulus allowances for health and care and well-being of kids, and certainly services above and beyond what we were ever providing, because we weren't providing such
Yeah.
services.
But we have deadlines for the money, so we could try to
Yes.
buy the contract right away?
Yes, and we did, when I spoke with the gentleman, I asked about the 3-year and if he would be willing to, and I don't, to be honest, I don't remember if that had something to do with his lowering of it or
Maybe.
not, but I'm
I-
leaving that to.
I think it's, what I heard in that conversation was more the size of our district.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you have a very large district, they can get the price down a little bit. They do bill, just to be clear, they do bill some insurance plans, but they don't turn anybody down. So for example, if your insurance plan is one that they don't bill, they still will see that child.
Then how much time, well, sorry, so many questions, but
No.
how much time is this going to take for our office staff to deal with instead of,
We don't do any billing. So.
no, not the billing, the actual helping the student with the iPad and all that?
So this
instead of
will be-
the
this
parents
will-
picking up their kid?
Yeah, that's a great question. So ideally, this will be handled by health staff. So, each site has, with the exception of the upper grade KTL, has a health person.
Yeah.
So they can assist the child with that. It's time that would be spent either way. So you're either going to be accessing the provider and getting their input on this child, or you're going to be accessing the parent and saying, pick up your child.
Yeah, but if you're just calling mom and say, come pick up your kid, and then the student goes and sits on the chair instead of the whole doctor conversation. Do you get
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's worth it, and I think that's why we're there, is to get them that care.
All right.
It won't, it won't be for everybody. I'm sure there will be some individuals who will say, no, I want to be called and I want to be present when they do that, and we would honor that as well. But I do think it's, in terms of the time commitment, it's no more than when someone is sent up to the office, finding out, okay, who are we calling, telling the parent, here's
Yeah.
what the symptoms are, here's what we're seeing this student's.
Most of the time you have to call
So
3 times.
Yeah.
And would the parents be able to come down to the school and do the phone conversation with?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think that that's one of the things that I think we would encourage, so that they hear, and so that then they also then learn how to operate it, and to then, if they need to contact further on from home, then they've kind of learned the process and know what to do, and are more familiar with it.
And
Good thing.
and translation, how's that work with?
They have Spanish providers available, and beyond that, they use a language line.
Sorry, I asked so many questions.
No,
they
please,
need
these-
to ask those, and if we
these
don't
are helpful.
have them, we'll ask more on Thursday, because that's.
This would also cover the preschool, and that's the only 3 to 5-year-olds. It does have to be a parent that's with them. So either that parent would need to, join their child at the school, or I can imagine it being used at home quite a bit more for those little tiny people.
Yeah. Sounds interesting.
Mhm.
So you need a motion to keep
No,
going on this?
we
or-
don't actually need a motion. We'll take it as just or if we could have, actually, if the board would like to entertain a motion to table it until the June board meeting, I think that would be the best way for us to proceed.
I can do that. I'll make a motion that we table it till the June board meeting.
For more information and,
Yeah.
okay. So we have a first motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, did you have more or?
I don't. Just
Great,
if
yeah.
you think of any other questions, please email me or Dr. Brazil before Thursday, and we can get the answers.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All in favor, Jimmy?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Come on, Wes, come sit down.
Thank you.
Wes listened to your whole presentation. He was back there.
I'll go okay?
Yeah, it went all right.
Good, good.
Mr. Green was sitting in the back of the boardroom for about 15 minutes watching. Too nervous to walk out, so we have to make a scene.
I was waiting for an acknowledgement for my tardiness,
All
due to
right.
my public,
So you've had
engagement.
these two guys do all the votes, so you got to jump up and do some votes. All right, we're on
warrant.
10.6. Well, approval of Head Start Management Salary Schedule 1.22 COLA increase, and we're gonna have a bunch of votes like this. So if Mr. Brazil can explain the whole situation.
Well, with the Head Start, these are incremental COLA increases that the federal, because it's a federally funded program, so it really has nothing to do with the rest in terms of Head Start. And I'll ask Stephanie to correct myself, but I think hers are completely related to the federal Health Start or Head Start programs. And they're all COLAs that are added to the salary schedules of the Head Start, which are very much they're not salary schedules that we as a district
Determine.
set or determine.
All right. Do we have a motion for 10.6?
I'll make that motion.
Oh, he got you. Well, he got you. He come right in hot. We have a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 10.7, same subject. This is for a different, this is for support staff, not the management. Any questions or concerns? Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
Or second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to 10.8, approval of Hero Safe Kids, Inc., 3-year service agreement. Mr. Brazil?
And what this is, we've had Hero now for, I believe this is the second year. What it is curriculum associated with how to react to when there is school violence or there are an intruder on campus or any of those kinds of things, and also how to emotionally cope with going through that. It is a curriculum that we have that's for the entire district. It's available. It's what we're asking is to be able to pay for it for the 3 years using the stimulus money, so that we're not actually using general fund dollars to do this. And we were able to get a better rate by securing those 3 years. So again, a program we've had in place, and it's simply a continuance of.
think Jimmy and I came to that presentation a couple of years ago, remember?
Yeah, I think
In
so.
here? All right, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to 10.9, approval of local control and accountability plan.
Well, this isn't quite the LCAP. This is the federal addendum. In June, you'll be looking at the LCAP annual update as one plan. You'll have to first make public on the 8th and then approval on the 22nd with the budget. But this is the portion that tells the federal government that we are in compliance with what they consider the requirements for funding based on California. This was, if you remember back, there was quite the big fight about our state applying for a waiver and then it not being granted for the categorical programs. That's basically what this is showing that you're in compliance. So I'm asking that the board approve the addendum, and we'll probably have to do this every year. It's just one of those, one more plan to write.
Any questions or concerns? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. 10.10, approval of 2020 to 2022 superintendent salary schedule.
This is very awkward, but it's,
Uh-huh.
well, it is awkward, but this is the approval of the salary schedule based on the past history of whatever is settled with the certificated staff that the superintendent is offered the same. So the next agenda items will all be as a result of us settling contracts with the Keys Teachers Association. And so therefore, we're bringing forward all the salary schedules related to those, and then including some of the classified salaries increases because they're tied to the certificated with a Me Too clause. So we have now settled with CSEA for 2021, with KTA for 2021, 21, 22, and we are meeting with CSEA to begin bargaining for 21, 22 tomorrow morning.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve the superintendent salary schedule?
I'll make that motion.
We have, he went right on that one. We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to 10.11, another form of business, certified management and salary schedule.
And this is the same thing, but this is for all of the other administrative staff in the district.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. 10.12, approval of 2020 to 2022 certificated salary schedule. These are for the teachers.
This is the teachers, absolutely.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Oh, Raul, I broke it. Moving on to 10.13, approval of 2020 to 2022 certificated stipend schedules.
And these are the stipends associated with certificated extra duties, and so the same settlement always gets applied to those stipends as well.
Any questions or concerns on that one? It's a little different than the actual salary. Nope. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We got one from Wes. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to 10.14. This one's a long one. Approval of amended 2020 to 2021 classified management, CSEA classified, confidential, and ACES salary schedule to reflect Me Too language with KTA negotiation settlement, additional 1% on and 500 one time.
So this is when we had met with CSEA quite a while back. They had settled, but the CSEA is very aware of that should the district give anything different than what we had settled with CSEA, that we would then offer it to them as well. They have what they call a Me Too clause. So this is making good on that promise that what we've extended to one employee, we're extending it to all employees. So this is to make their 2020 and 21 whole. And again, like I said, we'll begin 21, 22 with them tomorrow.
All right. Any questions or concerns? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. 10.15, approval of CSEA 21 to 20, that's supposed to be 2022?
No, the CSEA actually has submitted their sunshining proposal. They're wanting to negotiate not just for a year, they're actually wanting to do it for 4 years or 3 years, I'm sorry, for 3 years. So we will, again, that is what they submitted. We're asking the board to approve that that's their request. That doesn't mean that the board is agreeing to that. But as we begin the negotiation process, we at least know that they are looking at a multi-year contract if possible. Again, I would share that I don't want to begin to negotiate here tonight by sharing what we will discuss tomorrow because I don't know, but we'll see what happens. But this is just before
plan.
you can sit and bargain, you have to submit to the public that you are, here's your intent as we go to the table. And that's what this is. It's just approving it's not approving.
When will we have time to discuss that?
They have to do it in behind closed doors, and then they come to us with the deals.
You will have to approve.
Sure.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve their article?
Make a motion to approve that.
We have a first, do we have a second? Wes is
I'll
pointing towards
second.
you, Mike. We got a second from Wes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. 10.16, approval of KUSD 21 to 2024 Sunshine Proposal by KSEA chapter.
Yep, this is our, when the bargaining unit submits a request to bargain to the district, then the district responds with a request to bargain with the unit. So these are all formalities, but it's also according to law that we have to follow this process. So we are, again, we would not be able to meet with them and negotiate tomorrow if this weren't approved here tonight, which basically says the district is aware that you're bargaining.
Gotcha.
Who wants to mess tomorrow? No, just kidding. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that
We
motion.
have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. 10.7, Dana, you're making these so long.
This is the longest agenda we've had in a very
10.17,
long time.
approval of tentative agreement between Keys Union School District and Keys Teacher Association. Mr. Brazil?
Well, this is approval of the contract for the 2 years with the Teachers Association. The Teachers Association has shared with I and district staff that they have voted to accept the offer and have agreed to the agreement as listed.
All right, do we make a motion to approve?
I'll motion
We
it.
have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. Moving on to 10.18, approval of collective bargaining agreement between KUSD and KTA.
Same thing, it's just agreeing to the whole bargaining unit, because it's not just percentages, it's the actual agreement or the contract, and there were no changes to the language of the contract, so that it remains status.
We have a motion to approve?
Make that motion.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I don't think we've ever been to 19 before, and we still got them going, Dana. Moving on to 10.19, approval of county-wide plan provision of educational services to expel students 21 through 2024.
So the county has the responsibility of putting out or assuring that they have a program in place to support districts that would assist when we have to, or when expulsions take place and students need an alternative placement of education, because you can't just deny them their rights for an education. This is the plan that the county has to renew, and this is the current one, which is a 3-year plan, and each district has to then look at that plan and agree to it, or if they have questions, for example, I would have had the opportunity to have asked questions. If the board has questions, I could still proceed with it, but we're asking that it be approved.
All right, any questions or concerns? We have a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
We have first, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Dana, we'll give this one to Mike.
Mike beat me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. Moving on to 10.20, approval of temporary teacher on special assignment job description.
So what we're asking is that the board approve a description. It's not approving the hiring of someone for that. What we are hoping is that as we get closer to looking and finalizing plans for using the stimulus money that we have for the next 3 years, we want we kind of want to be a little bit ahead of the game, as in if we can hire someone to provide additional services that are above and beyond what we're providing kids now, that would be the only way for us to fund this position. This is not a position that if we were to just use our general fund dollars, that we would be, that you would be approving it. But again, what you're approving is a description of a position. You're not approving the position yet. I hope that you will be able to approve that for a 3-year or a limited amount of time based on funding, if that is the case. But for now, it's simply a description of what the job duty
And
would be.
we also get to discuss that.
Yes.
Yes,
And this isn't necessary in-house only too, correct?
correct.
Because if we find a candidate or something.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this.
It's just not an it's not an administrative position, so we wanted that to be very clear. Whoever, this will be to work with students. It's not to be necessarily pushing paper
Yeah.
or doing the crazy things that administrators have to do. It would be to assist students or to support students.
And like Mr. Green said, this will come back before us, before we get to that.
Absolutely. We can't even, we're not even going out to hire. We would have to then bring to you a proposal that would share, we would like to go out to hire for this position. This is what we intend to use it for.
Who makes the proposal?
The district or the campus that would be using
Actually,
it.
what will more than likely happen will be the committee of 20-some people that we have on this stimulus funding as to whether this is something that they want to, they have voiced that this is a way they want to go. We're trying to kind of put the path in place for us to be able to then go forward and indeed, if that's what their final determination and what the board agrees, that we will be set.
Just out of curiosity, who brought this up? How did this
The
come to
26 people
fruition?
in the panel.
The 20,
Is
yeah,
that
and our district office staff, I mean,
that's what
myself
I
and.
wondered, yeah.
No, myself and and administrators, the classified, certificated, it was a group of, we tried to be representative. In fact, we had parents also on the committee, so the problem is, it's all through Zoom, so it's not a great way to communicate, but I think we did a very good job. We had everybody generate ideas. We shared, here's how much we're getting from this fund. Here is the timeline that we have to spend it. And there were 3 different strands, 4 actually, and there may be additional as we're hearing more every day that the governor may be releasing other things. But, and so everybody kind of brainstormed, put things together. In Zoom, we used breakout rooms and so that they got to change and work with different people, come up with those ideas. Then we came back and prioritized and came up with documentation that shows here's kind of what, facilities is a great need. For example, the possibility of doing facilities work here at KES on the front of the school, those windows that are very old and because that would qualify under providing conditions that are providing proper ventilation, all related to COVID, that kind of stuff. So that's the problem is each fund has this expiration date, and so we're trying to keep moving. And so
And that's what kind of started all, okay.
But I think Wes, is the best thing to explain is we've had positions like this many times in the past. It's just now we have another funding source that we might be able to add it.
Gotcha.
And it would not be, I mean, again, you're going to see probably a request for a lot of different contracts and for services that we would not normally be doing because we can't afford them.
Right.
But we're doing them, and will all be, unfortunately, we're going to have to say these are all temporary positions because when the stimulus funds run out, we can't keep it on a general fund budget or our regular budget. We can't do it.
And we'll have a plan put in motion that when and if that happens, it doesn't hurt us by.
That's the real delicate balance is thinking, okay, we're entering into a 3-year kind of thought, but what happens then? Do we reach that cliff and do we just drop off? And so we're trying to do things that in 3 years, how will that best serve kids that maybe will continue on? So if we're doing programs with kindergarten through 1st grade, things that will continue, their skills they've learned or ways to cope, whatever it may be, something that, again, we're hoping that they're lifelong learners, which I think all students are, but the ability to provide that extra support beyond those 3 years is just not something we can guarantee. So-
but it's something that if it's working, we will try to figure it out.
Absolutely. We may at that time have to
Some of
prioritize
these
other
might-
things.
Some of these might not work, and some of these might work really well, where we say, okay, what are we gonna,
And some of these could spawn a whole new idea.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
all right, so do we have a motion to approve just to consider this position?
All you're doing is approving a position that you haven't approved to fill yet. You're just approving, okay, we have it. We can,
Yes.
Okay.
If we
Well,
need it, we
I'll
have
make
it.
that motion then.
And it's only one employee, or is this is leaving it open to?
our thought has been of just one, so I don't anticipate it being more.
Okay, do we have,
second it.
we have a motion to approve, Wes?
Yep, I'll make
I have
that.
a first, do I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to 10.21, approval of cafeteria account technician job description revised to include state requirements.
This is just simply a job description that has to fit what the state has said for student nutrition you must have included in your job description, and so we're just updating the description. There's really not much more to it other than being in compliance.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
We have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Moving on to 10.22, approval of Form 700, 2021 for the new administrators. That's something we always have to fill out, the new administrators have, and Dana's working on that right now. We have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
We have a, first, we have a second?
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to the last one. 10.23, approval of KTL 2022 School Pathways Service Agreement.
And this is an agreement for services for KTL for the coming school year. And we're asking that the board approve it. Again, it's a housekeeping thing, but it's a contract, so we ask the board approve it.
All right. We have a motion to approve that one? If you guys say no, we can keep this meeting going.
No,
I'll make that motion.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to 11, discussion items. 11.1 is LCAP update. Mr. Brazil?
so on the LCAP update, I want to share that our annual update is complete. I actually finished today with, we submitted it to the county, and I'm going to tell you that they returned it to me, and the corrections were because I overcapitalized in my writing, and my commas are not exactly in the right place. So I've changed all that, and it'll be ready for approval in June. So it has been, Stephanie and I have worked on it. I'm saying that because I was thankful that that's all it is. If it's grammar, we can deal with. I think it's a good plan, and it's indicative of what we're doing, so that's more important to me. But Stephanie has worked with me to get the budgeting portion of it. We are still continuing, because then there's the 3-year LCAP that we're trying to finish up that will also come before you in June, and the actual budget. So this is crunch time for everybody, and Stephanie keeps laughing because she gets to go home very soon after all this. And never have to look at another budget again.
She got a house budget you got to work on.
Oh, yeah. No.
Just gonna let Wayne do that. But anyway, that's kind of where we are with LCAP. I think we're gonna be okay. I have never seen a year with so many plans and so much paperwork due. I don't think we've ever had it. And we went from the 1 year of them saying, oh, you have a reproval from an LCAP. Well, they still created a document that we needed to submit anyway. So they just called it something different. So I'm hoping that maybe beyond all of this COVID plans that we'll someday return to, just let me have the LCAP or whatever one site plan you let us have and move forward.
Could you imagine how many typos you'd have if we did it? All right, moving on to 11.2, Discovery Science Curriculum Grade TK8.
Okay, so I just wanted to share with all of you that we're in the process of, we have been piloting science for 3 different programs. We are making it public so that we have to kind of give an opportunity for public if they want to review the science materials, they have every right to do so. And then we will be bringing forward the recommendation for Discovery Science to be adopted. It is the curriculum that we feel best fits the needs of our students. It's also the curriculum that our students are going to feed into high school, and they are using discovery science. So it makes a connection of what they learn here much easier. It also meets all of the national science standards, and is very much a science program that's hands-on and built on activities and students getting kind of real life experiences and work. So that will be before you for formal approval in June.
All right. Moving on to 11.3, library lease between Stanislaus County and Keys Union School District.
Okay, I'm bringing
This
this
one's a
up.
little touchy with some of us.
This is very touchy, and it's touchy because I want to say that this community deserves and needs to have the support of our county in having a public library. I think it is a shame not to be supportive of such a thing. Our second extension will be finished in June. I have reached out and asked, and this agreement, by the way, we are responsible for maintaining everything in this building. We have met multiple times asking for support to make it a better building. We've gotten nowhere with it. And I'm saying this in public because this is what's happened, and we're kind of at a stalemate or a standstill. And I wanted to bring a contract or an extension of the lease because I think it's important to provide those services to kids and families. But I also want to, I know that the county has stimulus money. I know that they're providing library facilities in other communities that are no different than Keys. Keys kids are just as deserving as any of the other ones around this county, and I think that they need to be reminded of that. And so I wanted to share with all of you that I'm kind of going to battle with it, not to go to battle, but it's to prove the point that I think our kids need it, and it's time for them to step up to the plate and to do the right thing. And if you can't even submit at no cost, submit a piece of paper to us tonight that says you are agreeing to support us for another year, I think that's shameful. I think that they really should be submitting, and they didn't. So I'm hoping that perhaps whatever happens between now and June, that we will get a request from them to at least approve it for another year. But I would like to engage in a conversation that talks a little bit more about who's going to be responsible for maintenance, who's going to be responsible for upkeep on those buildings. And I have even shared some opportunities that maybe they can partner up with Head Start or with other programs and even expand that facility. So we're being as upfront and asking them. Some of the board members remember we've met with the county officials related to the library before, and we got nowhere. It kind of went on deaf. We approved the agreement, and everything else went back to being quiet, and nobody brought it up. So I wanted to share with all of you that that's kind of where we are, and I'll leave it at that.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
Several years ago, we met with the library because the building and all the maintenance we've been providing. I mean, we've had issues with the trash cans getting full, and they call us to come dump their trash cans. I can give you a whole long list of it. And we had a meeting. We tried to make a meeting, and we kind of got denied until I told Mr. Brazil to get a hold of the county supervisor, and he stepped in and really started that up. And we had a really good meeting, which for us, not for the library. They weren't too happy with it. But we did see some changes. But right before COVID happened, we had to do another agreement that was a really, really awkward, Dana would verify, it was a really awkward situation. We approved it, and then they said, okay, we have to send this to the lawyers. And we said, well, you sent it to us. Like, why didn't your lawyers look at it? And we are the only library in Stanislaus County that's on a school facility. And I would bet my paycheck that we're the only library that gets provided a free building. And Turlock and Empire have both remodeled or built new libraries. And all we're asking is for them to do a little bit of maintenance and keep up with the place.
Have we identified the actual problem, why they are resisting?
Well,
Because it's free forever. When I was a kid, it was in the classroom. So can you imagine that they just feel that it's our responsibility? When the library was booming, we had the highest circulation per ratio of library books.
based on the population
Is
of the
that
community.
speculation, or is that an actual fact?
No, that was an actual fact, and those were presented at those meetings. I understood that there was no funding. I mean, I understand that there's only so much to go around, and I understand that those communities deserve their library buildings. All I'm saying is that maybe be a little more equitable, and what you're spending on some of these at one point in 1 year's budget, do something for this particular little community that you've done for others. And so I think that now I'm more upset by it because I'm thinking this really is a time to do something. You're getting stimulus money that's to support kids and to provide services above and beyond, and you weren't even providing those well. So now let's do them in a better way and support that. So that's kind of
10 years ago, I was the president of the Library Association for our community, and Karen Popper and I were paying for all the crafts out of our own pockets because they just said there was no funds. And 10 years ago was a different time. I understand that.
You know, not that it may not matter, but I remember doing an investment deal one time where I talked about the investment deal, and the investor said, boy, if you just put it in writing. And I learned from that, right? So I asked, have we put something formal in writing? We have.
Yeah, we've met.
And
with
that's
them
got us
several times.
nowhere.
And what the biggest problem with Mr. Brazil, what I told him, and I won't share that in public, but
you are.
Yes.
Yes.
we asked for some documents and they couldn't get them to us.
No.
Old
Did they get-
documents.
did
Old
they-
documents.
Did they give us the reason why?
Not really.
Really.
No, kind of,
So how confident do we feel about getting new documents?
okay. So the question is then, where do we go from here? Where do we go?
We have to see what they want.
My last communication was that we were going to have the meeting, that we would be sharing, and that I would be expecting something from them for us to bring to the board in June.
Is there anybody over their head?
Actually, I would think that the county supervisors would be the individuals who are above and who kind of oversee the county. So I don't have a problem with reaching out to them, and I think that this coming month we'll probably need to do that if we don't get we don't get any response.
I
We were
mean,
trying to follow the
there's
chains
appropriate
of-
ways to do that, right?
Correct,
I
Correct.
mean,
We shouldn't have to.
and we were
We're
simply trying
providing
to
everything to them
Right.
100% free.
we were trying to follow kind of the chain of command here of, okay, here's who we're dealing with, we're giving you an opportunity. And then again, I think it's one of those causes that I don't have a problem with saying, I'm going to go to a higher power to see if I can't get some resolution, because I think this is needed for the community.
Sure.
It's just a tough situation, and it's disheartening, honestly.
Very.
Well, hearing what you're saying, it doesn't sound like we have much of a choice. If we give it one more of our best and that we get nowhere, then I say we take it to the next step.
And that's what we've talked about. That's exactly.
And we are by no means at the end of June saying we're closing our door because we don't have an agreement. I don't want to do that.
Right, because we're talking about our children's well-being here.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
But we're here for education,
sure.
not a library.
I
I'm
would think
for the
the
library.
county-
I want to figure out how to keep the library.
Boy, that would be a tough sell for me to try to decipher between the two of that. Isn't a library education?
It
It
certainly.
depends on what we have to do. If we have
I
to put
understand.
$100,000 in that building, which I guarantee we do, somebody does.
Yeah,
So is that two teacher salary?
right. I understand.
It's just a tough decision, and that's what, it's not our main purpose
Might
for it,
have to
but it's definitely
Oh,
here for the
congressman or
community.
something. If
Well,
Josh Harder could
Josh
talk to
Harder
him.
might, yeah.
Are you calling him, Jimmy?
I might.
Okay.
It's just a touchy subject because we really thought it was a no-brainer, and we kind of got on deaf
Rebuilding.
ears until we got the county supervisor, and he was very supportive, and he did exactly everything we asked him to, but it kind of just fell through the cracks again. All right, that's a long one. All right, moving on to 11.4, COVID-19 funding committee priorities list.
So as I've shared, I was sharing with Wes, this committee is going to continue to meet. There was still, there's still a little bit of uncertainty as to exactly what requirements are being, and everybody across the state is kind of fumbling, trying to figure out how do we spend these funds and what are the exceptions and how do we get around and who do we ask for permission to do this specific project, so that if we, for example, did all of the windows, are we going to have then our auditors or someone later come down and say, no, you did that, that was not allowable under that funding, and now we want that money back? We can't afford to do something like that, because that would kill us as a district. So we're being very cautious, but we are trying to have as many stakeholders as being a part of that as we possibly can. But we also kind of have some deadlines that we need to keep moving and kind of pushing for it. So just that kind of environment.
Interesting.
All right, moving on to reports. 12.1 Superintendent Report.
Boy, that's one.
Do you have anything else to say?
Well, no, I wanted to, first of all, I wanted to thank staff for, again, we're just about at the end of the year. This is, we had a Teacher Appreciation Week last year. This is Classified Employees Association Week or Appreciation. We are, as a district, kind of acknowledging it all next week for all employees. We're going to kind of share our appreciation for all employees, regardless of whether they're certificated or classified. And so I want to thank every one of them for, as difficult as a year it's been. We're nearing the finish line, and I'm just hopeful that August will be a reopening that we can be back to normal. I'll say that. Even if it's not perfect normal or our old norm, that it be closer to that than it has been before. So I want to thank everybody for that. I want to congratulate all of our retirees and wish them well. I think you are all so lucky in a way that you're leaving at a time that is such a tumultuous time, and I wish you all the absolute best. Just don't rub it in later, but enjoy your time. I really do. I think it's these are amazing times, and we'll get through it. But we appreciate all of the hard work you have done and how much you've supported. Again, this last year has not been an easy year, and if there was ever anything I think that could push people to retirement, I think that this was probably it. I also want to congratulate our board president, Jeff, on his, they had a wonderful kind of a small reception for administrators and for board members, and Jeff was chosen as the board member of the year for ACSA, for the Association of California School Administrators, which was a very nice evening. Obviously, because of COVID, we could not do or have staff involved to in any number, but we certainly, I wanted to congratulate him on that. I think I sent out a link of the video of the event so that if anyone wanted to take a look at that. I also wanted to share that we had a lockdown last Friday. I was a little disappointed because we absolutely had no idea of what was going on, and we had kind of an underlying agreement that we would hear something from law enforcement. But I think we worked that out at the end of the day. I think everyone realized and learned from this, and I think we will continue to build a great relationship that I think we've always had with law enforcement. And again, it's our perspective is very different because we don't necessarily know the whole story. And I think sometimes it's like I shared, I don't want to know the story. I just want to know that there may be a possibility of something if you know it. And so anyway, everyone was safe. And what I want to share about that is that staff absolutely responded without there was honestly probably the best, not that there's best lockdowns and we hope we don't have them, but the absolute best followed that we have had in a very, very long time. And again, we haven't been open, but those are the kinds of things you can never be too prepared for. And so staff did incredibly well. So I thank them. And I think for now, I want to congratulate all of the students, and I'm hoping that graduation will be a little more meaningful. It's still not what we'd like it to be, but kids have worked hard under incredible circumstances. And I think any celebration is better than none, but they certainly are worthy of a far greater, but we'll do what we can within the given limits and guidelines that we have. So without anything else, I also want to thank, honestly, the bargaining units, because they have been incredibly supportive and very collaborative, and they really do understand that we're all in this to assure that the district remains healthy and stable. And I think they've been cordial and very much reasonable. So that's all I have. And my district office staff for putting up with, I think it's been an incredible year of ups and downs, and we still don't know. I think we're still on spin cycle, so we hope to stop soon. But
All right, I'm gonna stop you. All right, moving on to board member comments. Mr. Emmons?
I'd just like to thank the entire staff for going the extra mile this year. things changing every time you turn around, and I think I don't see how you could have done a better job. I think everything turned out as good as possible. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Green?
Well, first I'll give our president his props on his award. Obviously, I always think, how does Jeff spend such little time in his position and get such big honors, right? Well, the truth is, Jeff puts in an enormous amount of time, and I think Harinder, our last board member, said it best. He said, "Wow, we couldn't get a better president because of his amount of commitment." And I just want to publicly let it be known that the board here appreciates a president like Jeff Reed, and I appreciate a friend like Jeff Reed. So thank you, Mr. Reed. My only thing I would have to say is next time I'm tardy for Jeff to publicly announce that I could have a seat so I don't have to stand up so long.
I didn't want to there was a good presentation going on.
Yeah, no, I thought about that. Other than that, I just want to say congratulations to the retirees, of course. And thank you for allowing me to be a board member. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Burnell?
Yeah, I'd like to say thanks to all the staff and those who are retiring. One day I'll be there, about 4 years. But, we had some difficult times this year and, probably more to come. But I want to thank you for all you guys' help.
Thank you. I have a couple written down here. Graduations. We all know they're going to go as best as we can. They're not what we normally go with. Staff, parents, board members, appreciate what we got. Give it our all. And I if it's sitting on a picnic blanket or if it's sitting in a hot sun, I'm more than happy to be there. And I'm just glad that we can provide the best we can. The electronic boards was not happy with what I was envisioning them, but they're way better than I ever thought. Once I found out I was going to be short, I'm just a negative Nancy, I guess, but I'm really happy with them. So I wanted to put that in public that I'm happy with them. And this is something that the day LU got hired, it was like, get us electronic boards. It was one of the things.
And there's still a track.
But the electronic boards this one's outdated by like 5 months. That's out here, the old one. It's a lot of maintenance, and it's a lot of work for the maintenance staff to change those out and the communication and all that stuff. So it being electronic we're moving on in times.
It's funny,
On a
Mr.
win
President,
day.
because when I first saw him, I go, oh. Meaning, I didn't know if it was appropriately sized. I didn't know anything. It
Yeah.
just was, oh.
So there's rules.
You're right. I thought there might be.
That's the rules, and that's not what we think keys.
Sure.
And Stephanie went out of, she did an awful lot of legwork, as did Eric, and the principals at each of the sites to really get those to be approved and be able to put up there. We have had some issues with the one here at KES in terms of connectivity, so there's something that's quite not, I don't think it's working to its full potential yet, but we're contacting, obviously, the manufacturers.
A little
We thought-
glitch, yeah.
Yeah, so that will be taken care of.
But once you see them, and then you start driving around Turlock, Modesto, Merced, they're all the same.
Right,
It's just like, you just don't picture it until you see it put in. So on record, I approve it. It's lovely. With the award ceremony, it was a great, very close but spaced out event. It was limited seats. It was a really weird setting, honestly. And they kept saying they usually do it bigger and better. But those awards we won't be won without an application. So I appreciate the application, Mr. Brazil, and your fine words. And he didn't make up anything, I promise.
Yeah.
Moving on to Ms. McGinnis and Ms. Rugger. Ms. McGinnis, you already know us. Welcome. But Ms. Rugger, you're going to learn something really fast about the board. And I tell this to all the new staff. McGinnis has heard it a million times. 4 out of the 5 board members grew up in Keys, got our education in Keys. We all live in Keys. We're very hands-on. You'll see us everywhere. You can tell us to shoo if you need to. It will happen, trust me. Just be upfront and honest with us. We'll be honest with you. This is a very, very tight-knit community, and anything that can be done, it matters. And so we welcome you, and you got big shoes to fill with Mr. Stewart, but we're here to help. Average board members don't make jokes up here. Don't, this is us. We say we're Keys people. We are. This is our community. This is what we do. We're not politicians. We're here for the school. And with that one, I would like to add that with this last 2 weeks, we've had a tragedy in the community. It's been really tough. And to see the school staff and everybody stand up, it's just really good. It's tough with our kids. That student was in my house every day. And see all the staff went out to the candlelight vigil, the donations. It's what makes Keys. Moving on to next board meeting will be June 8th at 5:30. Regular session will be at 6. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion, Jeff.
We have first. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys.